Once upon a time, not so long ago, women in America and Europe had almost no rights. They couldn't vote. They couldn't go to college. In many places, they couldn't even own property. But change was coming, and it started with a voice. Let's begin in the 18th and 19th centuries, when the seeds of women's rights were first planted. In Europe, women like Mary Wollstonecraft in Britain were already speaking up. In 1792, she published A Vindication of the Rights of Woman, arguing that women were not naturally inferior to men, but lacked education. Her words inspired generations. In America, by the mid-1800s, women were becoming more vocal. In 1848, Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott organized the Seneca Falls Convention, the first women's rights convention in the U.S. There, Stanton read the Declaration of Sentiments, which boldly declared that all men and women are created equal. It was a turning point. From there, the women's suffrage movement picked up speed. In Britain, the suffragettes led by Emmeline Pankhurst began staging protests in the early 1900s. These women were brave and radical. They were arrested, went on hunger strikes, and faced violence, but they never gave up. Across the Atlantic, American women were also fighting hard. Susan B. Anthony and Sojourner Truth were powerful voices for both women's rights and racial equality. Truth's famous speech, "Ain't I a Woman?", delivered in 1851, questioned the injustice Black women faced on both fronts. Then came a major breakthrough, the vote. In 1918, British women over the age of 30 won the right to vote. 10 years later, the age was lowered to 21, the same as men. In 1920, after decades of struggle, the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was ratified, finally giving American women the right to vote. But the fight wasn't over. The mid-20th century brought the second wave of feminism. In the 1960s and 70s, women in both the U.S. and Europe demanded more than just voting rights. They wanted equality in work, education, marriage, and reproductive choices. Leaders like Betty Friedan in the U.S. wrote The Feminine Mystique, which inspired millions of housewives to question their roles. She also co-founded the National Organization for Women, NOW, which pushed for laws against gender discrimination. At the same time, Simone de Beauvoir in France wrote The Second Sex, a groundbreaking work that explored what it meant to be a woman in a male-dominated world. Progress followed. Laws were passed. In America, Title IX in 1972 gave women equal access to education and sports. In Europe, the European Union began adopting gender equality as a central principle. In the 21st century, women have continued to make history.